just don't know what really causes this phenomenon. So this has been going on for a very long time, but every time it happens, the scientists come up with a new far-fetched explanation for it. We just don't know what really causes this phenomenon. And that's what the witnesses are always describing, incredible as it is.
Welcome to Don't Turn Around, a podcast about the extraordinary and the unexplained and the profound impact these events have in our lives. This is a place for amazing stories and explorations of the paranormal as it intersects with our human experience. If you've had any strange occurrences that you want to share with the show, do not hesitate to shoot me a line at dtapodcastinfo@gmail.com, which will soon be changing because I'm finally getting around to getting the website set up. So in coming weeks, that'll be changing, but honestly, I will probably always check Gmail. So that's where you can reach me. Thank you, everyone, for all of your reviews, all of your follows, likes, all of that stuff helps me tremendously in getting these stories out to all the wonderful ears out there that are ready to receive them. Tonight's guest has been on Don't Turn Around before. She is one of my favorites to chat with, and she has been so busy lately that I just feel very happy that she is carving out some time to come back on the show and share what she's had going on. She's a paranormal investigator. She writes, she researches, she travels, and she puts out some of the best content out there on the internet. So, Amanda Paulson, welcome back to Don't Turn Around.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here again.
So you have just been, I feel like you've been go since we last spoke, which was a little over a year ago. And it looks like there has been also really a great increase in your social media presence and the people that are following what you do. And I could not be more excited and happier that more people are out there that get to experience just the cool stuff that you're out there doing. What has the journey of the last year been like? And I know that is a very broad question, but I'll start broad and then maybe we can work our way down a little bit.
Yeah, man, I think the last time we spoke would have been like May.
Yes,
I think. Yeah,
it was.
okay.
I just checked. Yeah.
Yeah, and since May of last year, man, it has been a year. There's been a lot of good and a lot of not so good, which tends to happen, tends to show up when we have extraordinary years of growth. But I changed my career entirely last year. For those listening, I used to be in banking. Womp womp. So gross and boring. We're really starting the podcast off interesting here. I used to be in banking for a really, really long time.
I love it.
But
and I bet we have bankers listening right now.
Yes. And if you love it, no offense.
and if you don't love it,
leave. No.
Leave.
But I did that for like 13 years. So that was like a huge part of my personality, a huge part of my life. And I left that career field. I now do social media full time, not just my own. I do social media for other people as well. So I did that. I did a huge career change last summer. And then I don't know, from there, just a bunch of life stuff. And my following on Instagram has grown pretty exponentially as of the end of last year when I started investigating haunted jewelry. It kind of took off from there. So people love to see that. People love haunted objects, you know how
people
it goes.
Love, and for good reason.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating.
Yeah. So that's been pretty cool. And then this year started off with filming a project out in Pennsylvania with my friend Becky and Galentine. And then I just had some exciting stuff happen recently. So, I mean, really, I won't go day by day, but It's been a really big
October
year.
14th, 7 p.m.
I feel like you're actually the first person that I've sat down and had say, what happened over the last year. And so my brain is like spinning really quickly, realizing that I actually have been through a lot over the last year.
Yeah.
So, wow, a great moment of reflection here, but it's been good. And here I am today. It's very warm. Where I'm at, it's 100 degrees and there's no AC back here. So I am glistening,
Yeah.
but I'm happy to be here.
You're glowing. You're glowing. I will say you're glowing. So are you on the West Coast today? Or are you on the...
I'm in Washington, in Spokane, Washington, where I live.
So it's 100 degrees out there this week.
Yes. Yeah, it gets really hot out here. Yeah. It can get, like, in the past it's gotten to like 110, 113 sometimes. It's 100 today, 103 tomorrow. It's a heat wave. So yeah, it is very warm. Where are you at again?
So I'm on the East Coast. So I'm out in Virginia, maybe 45 minutes west of Washington, D.C., about an hour and 10 minutes south of Gettysburg.
Got it.
We've been having a heat wave here.
I was there last April.
We chatted about that. It's so close yet so far. But next time you're in this neck of the woods, definitely have to.
I need to go out there again. Washington, D.C. Was so cool. And I only had like 4 hours there. So
that's right. It was a quick adventure. Yeah. And that's the thing, where we are located, in this DC area, we have access to so many incredible locations. I mean, we have Pennsylvania's a stone's throw away, and there's so many incredible places in Pennsylvania. I mean, there's so many incredible places just in Virginia that I feel like we're discovering more and more each week. And when we try to plan, like, what do we want to do, the next 6 months? And there's places we want to go back to, but it's hard to go back to places when there are just so many other incredible locations and spots and just places that just have this incredible energy, as I'm certainly sure in the Pacific Northwest is probably a similar conundrum of just where to go, or sometimes it's just what patch of nowhere do I want to go to? Yeah,
I feel that a lot. I always want to make it out to the Olympic Peninsula, but then I'm like, or I could go to the East Coast, or I could go far away, like, I don't know. I love traveling, but this year, even though I've traveled for some very cool things, I actually haven't gotten to travel a lot just for fun. So hopefully in the last half of the year, I get to do more of that.
So what does for fun travel look like for you?
Well, it still probably looks spooky, but for fun, as in not for filming or, just like to hang out. I need like a good retreat in the forest, probably. Yeah. That sounds nice.
That sounds really nice. And that's the thing, when you're going out and you have, let's say you're going out to do filming and it's part of an investigation, let's say, I mean, it's still not that just pure, just going out with a camera and maybe a recorder just to capture your experience with no end result, that it's going into some kind of a production and there's going to be some time you've got to make sure you're getting to reviewing it, and something about just going out. And there have been times in the last year where I've just gone out, I've brought my gear, I've recorded, I've filmed, I've talked to devices, I've talked to the ethers and dumped the files and haven't looked at them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've definitely done that. Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes that's nice. Sometimes it's nice if it's a conscious choice, but I also have found too that when I am getting busy and I am getting into that sort of high stress, like pinball kind of mind frame, I find it very hard to sit down with evidence and audio and video to review. I almost get this weird paralysis because I don't know what it is about sitting down and going through these experiences. It's almost like part of me knows that if I sit down and I start listening to the audio and I kind of just get into that groove you get into when you're reviewing evidence, and that I wouldn't be as stressed. And for whatever reason, my brain is not allowing me to get into that zone. Almost it feels like I will let my guard down if I get into that zone, and then Project X will slip or something else will slip, and I just can't get into that zone.
Yeah, Yeah, that's very insightful.
We just had a revelation on this side. Wow. The things that happen on this on these conversations. So you've been go. Are you hitting a time stretch where you can kind of sit back a little bit and take inventory?
Yeah. This month I've been trying to take a little bit of a break, but I've been picking up some podcast thoughts
Yeah.
and things like
Hey,
that,
here we are.
Yeah, I'm trying to work hard though this year. Like it's okay. And I say, I need a trip for fun. That's not to say that the trips that I went on were fun,
Of course.
but I'm very happy working hard, and I have a little bit of downtime right now, and then we're like almost into spooky season. So
it's getting close.
Yeah,
it's
exactly. Exactly.
We might be sweating our asses off, but it's right around the corner.
I hope it's not this hot all summer. I'm being so whiny today. It got exceptionally hot today out of all days. Like this is the first really hot day. And I've just been like such a grump all day, like walking around like I'm so hot. And it's just I don't thrive. I don't thrive in it. I love the sun, but it's just warm. But anyway.
Well, I also feel like there's that acclimation period where when it goes from being kind of mild, really pleasant, to that first sweltering day and your body is not having it.
Yeah.
And there's some time to, I think, for your body to accept that this is what it's going to be like for at least
Absolutely.
a few days.
There's probably some kind of like, I don't know, maybe I can glean some kind of message out of like my irritability today.
Maybe.
And then maybe tonight I need to sit in the hot, humid warmth and be like at peace, like one with it, like I probably need that. So whatever, it's okay to be uncomfortable sometimes.
Well, I mean, it said it's to sit with discomfort, right?
Isn't that a thing?
Allows us to grow.
Thing, right?
Yeah. It's a whole thing that I feel like I've been trying to practice for a very long time.
Yeah.
It's always hard.
Yeah.
Always hard. Haunted jewelry. It's a poetic phrase, right? Haunted jewelry. And it says a lot to me, but if you're cool with it, I would love to hear more about how that specifically became sort of a niche of doing stuff with haunted objects.
Yeah.
What kicked that off?
Well, it's interesting because for a long time I was like, I am not a haunted object person. Like I have weird stuff, and I have obviously I have weird stuff behind me, and like, but I've always been a collector of just like odd, weird, ugly things that like people don't want. It's not necessarily been haunted objects, and I've also had some kind of opinionated views on haunted objects in the past anyway. But jewelry is something that I've always felt personally connected to, and I think it was like early last year I was gifted a ring by my grandma and her best friend. They made me a ring, and they made it out of their own jewelry. So it was like heirloom jewelry. They like melted it down and like had this like heirloom ring. I'm not wearing it right now, but anyway, she gifted me this like very special, important heirloom piece of jewelry. And that kind of kicked off this thought process of like, wow, how close to our bodies and close to ourselves is jewelry. This is like an incredible concept if you're looking at it from a paranormal lens. Like, wouldn't this just be one of the most likely things to be haunted? And at the same time, my mom, end of last year, had gifted me a bunch of vintage jewelry from like, I don't even know where. My mom tends to just find things. Sides of the road, like weird estate sales. I don't know. She's just one of those people. And so she put all of these little pieces of jewelry in these individual bags and put really detailed notes in them and explained what each piece was, and mailed me that. And then kicked off the idea of like, why don't I investigate one of these pieces of jewelry? I had kind of a odd feeling about it. I had a feeling that there might be something there. And there was also some jewelry in there that was from my like great grandma. And anyway, so I was like, let's investigate it. And that was November of last year. And I made this video about me investigating this necklace that my mom had gifted me. And that video did very, very well. It got over 10 million views.
Wow.
And people showed a great interest
Yeah.
in the approach that I was taking, which was I've been using an obelisk a lot lately, which, by the way, I finally got my hands on an obelisk, which I have been dreaming about since, God, early aughts. Like, I've been wanting an obelisk for so long. I wanted the obelisk 3 so badly. I've never been able to get my hands on one, but they re-released them on
Yes.
Ghost Stop, the obelisk 5. And so when I got that last year too. So it all kind of happened at the same time. And I was like, I want to use this thing. I want to use it bad. And I don't want to wait until an investigation to do so. So, and anyway, all of that to say, it kind of kicked off this journey for me of exploring the objects that I already have, exploring jewelry as a very specific targeted avenue, and like also exploring the act of paranormal investigating within the home, and kind of trying to showcase online that you can do these things at home and you can interact with spirits in a way that does not have to, be evil or cursed, or like, I don't know. There's a lot of taboo, like thoughts around bringing that kind of energy into the home. And I just wanted to show people that there's really not much to be afraid of. I wanted to show them my approach. So anyway, all of that is like kind of where I've gotten this sort of niche now of haunted jewelry, which I've really, really enjoyed. And then most recently, I literally just wrapped up a series that I did opening a mystery jar of jewelry. I'm looking at it right now. So,
oh, cool.
But I bought a mystery jar of jewelry from the thrift store, and I've always wanted one of these. And I finally found a good one. It had like some vintage pieces in it, a good one. And I decided, let's investigate as I pull every piece of jewelry out of there and see if anything is active or anything has any kind of like reticent energy attached to it. So I just finished up that series of like 9 videos that anyone listening can go watch if they want to.
Yeah, go watch these videos for sure.
I just think it's like, again, it's very close to our body, like I have rings I wear every single day. Like if we're going to presume that objects can be haunted, one, I don't think that we should ascribe very many rules to that, meaning it can be modern, it can be old, it can be, a variety of different kinds of objects. And then also, why not look to the things that would be on a person, like close to your body, and maybe close to the heart as well. Sometimes literally, like if it's a necklace or something, it just makes a lot of sense to me, paranormally speaking.
Yeah, no, that it makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, you just think about just even touch, right? And like the touch of a bracelet and how that feels on your wrist. And sometimes we wear bracelets because they also bring a certain kind of comfort in the way that there's that connection there. And then let's say you add some sentimentality to something like a bracelet, and that's touching that spot, and the wrist is just a very, at least for me, can be a comforting spot to have someone, touch. And why wouldn't it be potential for that connection?
I think it'd be way more likely for it to be haunted than like a random doll. Not to say that those can't also be haunted, but like, just imagine some of the random crap. Just kidding. The random stuff that people claim to be haunted. Some of it's like, why? Like, yeah. Just like how people say, why would a cemetery be haunted? However, I kind of disagree with that. I think cemeteries can occasionally be haunted, but why? Yeah, why? I don't know. I've also been kind of playing with the concept too of like using objects or using this jewelry as a sort of tether to call in the energy, and to try to kind of break away from the idea that a haunted object must have a spirit attached or trapped to it. Because I'm finding that like places and events and in moments in time, and then also objects can actually sort of tether us to the other side in a way, and we can kind of use this to sort of thin the veil or like reach out to the other side at will. So that's another part of it too.
Yeah, you can you see the gears turning over here as I'm processing this wonderful concept? I love the idea of taking something like, since we were talking bracelets, let's just use bracelet. It doesn't have to be an antique. It doesn't have to be something that someone even wore. You could go to Target and say, "Oh, this is kind of cute. This would be cute on an investigation," and literally take it as that sort of focal object. And you're putting your intention into that object, right? That has a very distinct look and texture and feel and weight to it, and because I feel like in a lot of ways this is how our gear interacts with that on the other side is through the intention that we're putting into that piece of equipment. And why wouldn't something like a bracelet act as a link, as just another way to link? And I like the idea that it's not a complicated object to understand conceptually. I think whether you're modern or kind of modern or not modern at all, there's certain objects that you can universally relate to and understand what it is or what it means. And yeah, I'm going to be thinking about this a lot tonight.
Yeah.
And now I want to go investigate and try.
And it's like, it's also like what we're talking about here too isn't like entirely revolutionary, because if you think about it, there's a lot of mediums who use objects to connect with somebody's loved one. You know, that's like very common. Like you see that with all of the wonderful, talented mediums out there. I'm basically just taking that and not knowing the backstory first. So, you know, I don't really have a way to cross check some of this stuff, unfortunately, but that's okay. And then I'm just putting it into a paranormal investigating context and using equipment, you know, so I think of that a lot too, because I've always wanted and strive to merge the two worlds of like mediumship and spirituality and paranormal investigating and like the more traditional ghost hunting. I just think they need to coexist.
Yes.
And I'm not the only one who thinks that. I definitely exist in the corner of the internet who's like very on board with that, but I want to show it too online, you know, and I want to kind of a short form video can be a challenge because you really do reduce your ideas and your what you're trying to get across has to get across in a minute and a half on Instagram, you know, and that's very difficult. But I just am really passionate about presenting things to people that just make them think a little bit outside of the box, and two, help them remove the shame and the fear that has been placed around being an experiencer and an enthusiast of the paranormal.
Right. That's incredible. I mean, it's just from behalf of me and all the other weirdos out there, thank you for the work that you're putting into making this something in Western culture that there's much more openness to. I mean, and I was thinking about this today, just randomly. I went for a walk and was thinking about death, not in a morbid sort of way. I think I was, here's what started it off. I was dozing off on the couch last night. I don't remember what we were watching. And I was just thinking about the paranormal. And I was thinking, when someone passes away, right? The moment, if they have the right programming or whatever you want to call it, the right combination of factors to become, you know, a spirit that walks close to our plane of existence, is that something that happens right away? Or are they boom, you know, their heart stops beating, brain death? Are they a spirit right away? Or does that essence, that life force that we are, does it go somewhere else first? Or is it not so much about, you know, our life force either immediately or years later returning to this plane, but maybe it's because in death we get closer to whatever the real nature of time is, with not being linear, and it could be instantaneous, but given the nature of time, instantaneous is 1,000 years, right? Who knows? So again, that's how the gears kind of start turning. And I don't know where I was going with that at all. I started thinking about that when you were talking about just pairing the science and the spirituality and the mediumship to explore. I think here's where I'm going. I think I found my way back on the track to explore these complex questions that are just, there's so many elements and layers to pondering this, that I think all these disciplines have to be at the table
Mm-hmm.
to try to make sense of it, or at least for us to better understand our place in all of it. And I think from hearing the perspectives, I think that, and by hearing, I mean, you're not just listening, but truly hearing, processing, and trying to decide how these thoughts affect us and affect our perception. But I think it makes, again, the world bigger, and this world bigger, and brings us a little bit closer to where, death is not either a thing that's not talked about, or it is talked about in various ways that just aren't, very clinical or based in mourning.
Yeah.
That make any sense at all?
No, it does. It does. I was just thinking, I was also thinking about death earlier in a not morbid way. It makes a lot of sense. And I was just thinking about how I was also having some thoughts today in my uncomfortable heat days. I was like, if I just, this is awful. And I was thinking about, I don't know why. I was like, am I still scared of death? I promise this is not going in a dark place.
It goes wherever it goes.
But I was just I was kind of just reflecting. I knew we were talking tonight, and, I was like, I know in the past I've talked a lot about how, my purpose in paranormal research has shifted and evolved over time. And there was a time 5 years ago where I solely wanted to tackle my fear of an inevitable end.
Yeah.
And I was kind of thinking to myself, have I grown past that? And am I still fearful of death? And I was like, yeah, yeah, I am. And I was like, okay, so that didn't work. But then I realized, I was like, though I actually have a more of a, there's a floating cat here. I have more of at least a little bit of a positive curiosity as to what happens, and feel more convinced that we get to go elsewhere. That just with that didn't come I didn't get rid of my fear of dying entirely. I don't think I don't even know where, now I'm going on some tangent, but it's I don't know if we ever truly unless you are just really, really got it together. I think we're always going to be fearful of death. I think that's superhuman and super normal.
Absolutely.
But yeah, anyway, thoughts.
I mean,
but
it's the ultimate unknown.
Mm-hmm.
It's the ultimate, what's the word I'm looking for? This kind of sacrifice to the chaos of the universe. You are at the whim of these forces that you cannot have an inkling about, and chaos and entropy and all that good stuff. And it's scary. It is scary. Mm-hmm. I used to, my relationship with death has always been, I mean, as I think everyone's is, it's different from one moment to the next, and grief is, while it has the same undertone, it's the same. Again, we're not going down a dark path, but I lost someone very close to me just a couple weeks ago that I was stunned. I didn't even know they were sick, and a few years before that I lost someone else, and about 10 years I lost 10 years ago, I lost one of my closest friends. And so these have been impactful, close to my life, close part of my world, even if distant type people. And I feel like my relationship with the death of the people I care about and those around me has changed. Grieving still sucks, and losing the connection on this mortal coil is incredibly painful and crappy. But at the same time, I feel like I've had more of these moments of unexpected comfort, and maybe not even always directly thinking about it in terms of what I've experienced in the paranormal. But I think it's just because my perception has been opened in such astounding ways, and just my sense of and awareness of the world around me, that it's moments of comfort where and it's going to sound nuts, but where I very much feel their presence. Sometimes it's in moments where I could not dispute it on any level. It's very clear. Sometimes it might be the sense of like a brief touch, or even just a sense of someone being in the room there just for a moment, and knowing that things are going to be good and fine. And I feel like if I hadn't been out in the field exploring all this, going down the rabbit hole and reading and having amazing conversations with amazing people like you, I don't know that my radio, my frequencies would be quite tuned into those stations. So for that, I'm grateful. And I think that what scares me the most now is just the pain of the people that I love having to figure out how to process my death.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's something that I don't even consider at all. But you know what? What's interesting, listening to you explore, you know, those thoughts and feelings, I can't help but reflect on the fact that I have not actually lost that many people myself. I'm 34 years old. Many people at my age have lost a lot of people,
Yeah.
but I've been very, very blessed, for lack of a better word,
Yeah.
to have had. I have a very like small family. Like there have been elements of my family and life that have not been present. However, they have not passed away. I lost my grandpa, who was like my dad, in 2018. And that was hugely influential for me.
Yeah.
But that was like the first and only. And then actually what's interesting about this past year, since the last time we spoke, my grandma, who is like my mom, was diagnosed with cancer in, I think it was like August or September, like we're almost coming up on a year. And at the time they thought it was like stage 4, you know how cancer goes. Like they were like, she's a goner. She's a goner, dude. She's done. And and it was just traumatic. It was like, families trying to get together. Like I had never experienced that because my grandpa was very old, and like he had a long time for us to like visit him and stuff before he passed. But this with my grandma, like she's very fit. I just thought we had a lot longer. And so it was very traumatic. Then come, what was it, like December, they were like, just kidding. She has a lot longer actually. And, yeah. But even just that confrontation with death and with those thoughts and feelings last year, I would say it largely contributed to the evolution of myself as a person. And also, obviously, it translated into my paranormal investigating. And also, it helped me evolve my purpose in this field. Like I was saying, my purpose has evolved and changed over time. And why I'm doing this has changed because of those things. So, yeah, I mean, I guess to sum it up, of course, death is very, I don't know, mysterious and big. Duh. I call this the obvious podcast over here. Death is bad and it makes me sad.
This week on a very obvious episode of Don't Turn The
paranormal investigator talks about death.
But you know what? Yeah, but that's well said. And for the obvious parts and the not obvious parts, but it does guide us in a way, or it's like that, that unseen force that we have these processing of various emotions, feelings, memories, etc. And then also this subtly enhanced drive of maybe not so subtle that, part of death is living and vice versa. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So why the hell
Yeah.
not go for it?
Yeah. Yeah,
Whatever
absolutely.
going for it means.
Yeah. I can't laugh too hard or also start sweating profusely. It got my body temperature rising in here.
That's
Whew.
where that's been how it's been down here. I'm in an air conditioned basement right now,
Yeah.
though, so I can't
Virginia,
complain.
where you're at, is like humid,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not humid here. It feels humid in my house because I don't know, but
The sweat.
because of me, like the sweat that I'm emitting, it's very humid in here. The poor ghosts in my that I've brought in here, they're gone, right? They're in
Like, give
somewhere
me some
cooler.
cold spots. Just give me some
Yeah,
cold spots just right in this
yeah.
area.
It's so hot the ghosts aren't even cold anymore.
No.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that for me, summertime and heat always makes me just think of horror in a very nostalgic way, not in a
Mm,
horribly uncomfortable, but just summertime when I was out of school and I would just watch scary movies with my
yeah.
buddy. I'd go across the street to my friend Vinny's house, and it would be Sunday nights at 8 o'clock, and we would watch Tales from the Crypt.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
and so every summer I have tried to write a new short story, like a new horror summer themed short story. I can't remember if I pulled it off last year with Life Being Life and the ups and the downs and the deep downs, but I told myself this summer I'm going to do that because I just feel like I have to. If
Mm-hmm.
that makes any sense at all. And
Yeah.
another tangent. I'm like a ping pong ball tonight too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's cool. I totally get what you mean about like the summer slashers and the like, there is like a very
yeah, yeah.
nostalgic, summer is very nostalgic and cool in that way. I hope you write it soon. We're in the middle of summer right now.
Yeah, I got to get
Better
on
get
that.
to it.
I'll see you later. I got to go.
Yeah.
So back to the jewelry, because I've also been thinking thoughts about the jewelry as we've been talking. Can you give me an example of just a session with a piece of jewelry?
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully I can relay this in a way that makes sense. But um I'll be honest, like my approach is a little chaotic because I go into it, again, I have no background.
Right.
So you're not going into it like a paranormal investigation of a location where you can do
Right.
all of this historical research and you know exactly the questions to ask and you know how to like remove bias from the situation. And
Yeah.
with, a haunted necklace, like the one that my mom sent to me, the first question is there anyone attached to this? So, like, I
Yeah.
am it's very much taking the approach of like a Ouija board, which a lot of
Yeah.
people find controversial and don't love because I think that it can be unsettling and like, there's some like fear around like just reaching out blindly into the other
Yeah.
side. You don't know what kind of person you're going to,
Yeah.
connect with. But that's what I'm doing. And again,
Yeah.
like I said, I want to show people that like uh, we can do these things and it doesn't always have to be super scary. Not to say that like you want to be safe about it and but whatever. I just reach out and ask like, is there anyone attached to this and see if anything comes through and if I'm getting some response back on any equipment or if I personally am feeling some kind of impression or intuitive pull,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is definitely a huge part of it. That's another thing too, is like, which I wish the short form video format could allow me more time for this,
Yeah.
is that a lot of this is using my own mediumship abilities and my own ability to communicate and to pull it to feel the energy there in the first
Yeah.
place. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes, I'm reaching
100%.
out like, is there anyone here who wants to speak with me? Is there anyone here who feels comfortable coming forward? But I also kind of already have an idea.
Right.
what is going on in my head, because I've been able to, exercise that muscle and train myself to trust my intuition in that way. So like half and half of that. But, and then from there, it's just like a very traditional, investigation. Honestly, if I'm using a K2 or Ovilus or a spirit box, I haven't used like anything like sensory deprivation very much, like an Estes session, because that just doesn't make a lot of sense for me being alone. I could, meditate with it on or something. I've done that before, but I'm just approaching it like a very traditional kind of question and answer session with the pieces of jewelry. The next step, which is the hardest step, is being able to compile like actual data and information and write it down and like have and start like putting together entire stories. Like, I'm grateful for the people who watch my content online and follow along with the things that I'm doing, because they'll go, "Oh, isn't that the kid that was attached to the book that you investigated a while back?" And I'm like, it probably is, and I already forgot about him. Like, and it's like, and I'm realizing that certain responses and things are coming through multiple times. I have somebody named Norman on the Ovilus that comes through many times, and then and then I go out on a project filming, and Norman never comes up on the Ovilus. So it's like interesting, But I really do need to log everything and put it down on paper so that I can start being like, this is this is this, like, like this piece of jewelry is whatever, like is Karen, like
Karen.
I've done a lot, and so my greatest like weakness right now is just kind of like not having a great memory and being a little bit I don't know, trying to do too many things. I need to give some of the spirits some extra time. But
which makes sense, and the whole concept of logging things. Well, I think that seems like the logical next step. I don't know that if you had started that right at the beginning, that you would have necessarily gotten into the groove with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think there was no. I mean, and some of the here's the thing: is the experiments, like the jewelry in particular, like the activity that has come forward from it has been astounding. Like I've impressed myself. I've been like, wow, this is like very compelling to me. More so than some locations that I've been on. And however, I think that part of the magic of that was the approach. It was the casualness of it, the like, just throwing myself into it and be like, hey, do you want to talk? Like, I feel like there was some kind of magic to that, sort of like not thought out, just very like
I love that. I love that. Do you get the sense, and maybe you get different senses, but when you are communicating to some entity that is, I'm just going to say attached for lack of many other words that I could probably use better, but attached to, say, a necklace, do you feel that it is bringing their presence, into your space, or do you feel like almost like it's like a telephone or just a portal or an opening between where you are and wherever they might be? Or do you feel like it changes from object to object to spirit to spirit?
That's a really good question. I feel like that's like the kind of thing, like how when people talk about like how do you envision an apple in your head, and how different people like visualize things differently. Like some people see an apple like 3D and like very realistic. Some people see like a drawing of an apple, or some people can't imagine anything at all. Like I feel like that's like, that makes me think of that. Like because in my head, like I feel like there are some spirits that are very close, occasionally, not typically attached to this jewelry, although again, occasionally. But a lot of the time, I think I'm visualizing them as being this is so odd because it's like, I don't know. It's just in my head. Like, I don't know. Because there have been instances where I've been, especially doing like the channel drawings that I've been doing for people. When I am doing that, I will go into a deep trance and I can communicate with sometimes with spirits during that, and they feel far away. But every now and then it feels like there is somebody that is right next to me and they feel very much in my space. And so I don't know what the difference is there. I don't know why that is. Like, that's a mystery to me. But I think more often than not, especially with the haunted jewelry, it's happening like in an outside space. I don't even know how to describe that, but
you know what I kind of see in my head weirdly, and I'll just share it. It makes no sense. It just was in my head as you were talking. I almost see it's dark. There's a sidewalk. There's a guy walking down the sidewalk. He's got kind of a longer, kind of a sport coat on, kind of longest, messy red hair. And there's a pink and gold kind of bracelet on the sidewalk. And he just kind of bends over and picks it up and is checking out. And then he's just thinking of you. Mm-hmm. And I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's like exactly like that. But then there are exceptions to that because it's like recently I was doing the thrifted mystery jar and I had a REM pod sitting on my couch in the back and the REM pod started going off, and that's a proximity sensor. So that, though, in my head, and I didn't articulate this in the video just because I don't know, I didn't think to, but like in my thoughts, I was thinking, oh, that's a different spirit. That's like, because I work with so many different spirits that I was like, oh, that's somebody else back there. That's somebody who is more present with me and who I've connected with more. And they're reacting to me. But then with the obelisk, but I don't know though, like us saying this though, then kind of takes away the effectiveness of equipment and like, but then you have also the possibility that like we are setting off the equipment and like like,
our very intention is right.
And like that thought connection can reverberate from us and create some kind of paranormal phenomenon outside of ourselves. Like, I think that that's very possible. But it's also like an area of the field that I absolutely don't have answers to, or like barely even know how to articulate yet. Perhaps one day.
I am with you. I am with you on that. So, as you've been doing this for some time now, with the objects, and then onto the jewelry, and doing stuff, and at home, do you feel like you have a busier household now, or do you feel like when you are done interacting, that these energies kind of, I'm thinking like a genie almost, but they kind of retreat back a little further past the veil and you have space from them? Or do you feel like it's a busy household since you've begun this part of your journey?
It depends. I feel like what I'm about to say is like a little controversial in the paranormal world, but like, I think that the answer to that depends on where I'm at mentally and emotionally, or even physically. Like, I think that like sometimes it feels very busy in here, but that might be in a moment where I'm not doing very well, where I'm more vulnerable, or just not paying much attention to kind of like my own natural wards that I would have up. And then other times it's like totally quiet, and that'll be because I'm traveling and I'm busy and I'm not paying any attention to my objects or my spirits. But I have explained in the past that like at this point, with the kind of experiments that I've been doing and the investigations I've been doing, it's almost as if I've kind of garnered these community ancestors in a way. So then it works more like venerating ancestors. And, through the act of veneration, then they're more present and you can work with them. And it's like, there is no hierarchy. There is no, I control this situation. We develop a relationship and work together. And again, that's a very spiritual concept. So it can be difficult to explain that in the context of paranormal investigating. But at this point, I do feel like there are a couple handfuls of energy or spirit or whatever that I have kind of created that relationship with, that I do consider like community ancestors with myself and with my following, that they're not, and in that way it means they're not always here. They're not always just sitting here. They're not trapped here. They can come and go as they please. I can call on them. I can tether to them.
Yeah.
And they can choose not to come. There have been some times where I've tried to like contact, I have a painting back here that I've investigated many times. And there's been some times where I've tried to contact that spirit and nothing has happened at all. And that is one that feels like it was because I was not venerating it, or like not giving enough attention to it, not paying my respects, or like kind of, there was too much take. I was making videos and I was taking, and I wasn't giving enough. And he kind of went away for a little bit, you know? So I don't know. It's weird. I've got weird stuff going on over here, and I have to tread carefully, because if you tell that to the wrong person, they're going to think you're out of your mind. But, you know.
Yeah. Which again, I hope the content that you're putting out there, less people are likely to have that be the initial reaction, and have the reaction of curiosity.
Yeah.
I mean, because curiosity it's such a beautiful thing. And that's the best way to learn about ourselves, about the wonders around us, the people around us. But I like that concept too, that you're talking about, as far as the veneration and the acknowledgement of I like how you use like your spiritual community, or I've heard people refer to their spiritual team, their ancestors. You know, I like to think that since I've been more open to this, it's brought some of those close people, and then people maybe that are part of my ancestry in closer, and that there are times where I sense presences in our house, which is, you know, it's a newish build, and you know, we sometimes stuff comes back with us from an investigation, but never sticks around long. We keep the energy clean, but every once in a while, I get these senses, or I'll see the stuff out of the corner of the eye, or a strange flash of light, and know that these aren't just the casual comers through, which I'm sure there are, but I know when it's part of the team. But I also feel like acknowledging that team has also created some level of protection, that if we get someone here that's a little too curious, or, you know, maybe not, maybe, I'm not going to say like bad intention, but you know, maybe struggles with boundaries, that they're quickly asked to move along. And that's what I like to believe too. You know, that might not be the case at all, but again, it's a question of faith, and faith is not just religion. I mean, everything when we are exploring these realms is faith based.
That's so true. I like that you say that. I've been trying to heal my relationship with religious vernacular, and like I said, feeling blessed, or having faith, or giving grace. Like, I've been trying to kind of be better about, like, you know, give grace to other people, and like that is not inherently bad, because I have a not so great relationship with like my religious upbringing, you know, like some of those words can be used still. So yeah.
I mean, I think it's also coming to a point, especially with a complicated journey. Can you take certain aspects of those larger parts of upbringing or whatnot that were challenging or downright, you know, painful, and take some of that back too, though, you know, take some of it back, and we could spend our whole lives taking some of it back, but it doesn't mean that, you know, you're 80 years old and you take something back, and it's still taking back, I think, a piece of yourself, right? Again, that's a whole other.
I know.
That's a whole other path. That's a whole other path.
I know these things just naturally come up in this field, though, and I feel like we've been a little bit dry actually lately in the paranormal field of like these kind of conversations. But I believe everyone desires to have them and is thinking these same thoughts, and like everyone, I personally think everyone that's working in the paranormal field, whether or not we like their approach or we agree
Mm-hmm.
with what they're doing, I think that, I have a lot of empathy for why they're there in the first place and reaching out for these answers and like kind of living this unconventional life. And like, I think with the inclusion of social media that, and especially with like hustle culture, and like all
Yes,
of that,
hustle culture and all that. Yeah.
like, yeah, like then we kind of like just forget to like stop and have these conversations with one another. And I think it could bring a lot of us, a lot of the field closer together if we were to just stop and be like,
Yeah.
yeah, how do
Well,
you feel about these things?
and absolutely agree there too. And let's face it. I mean, this is being invested in the paranormal, right? Even if it starts off as a hobby, stays a hobby, but it's gonna, it's, and again, I could be totally talking out of my ass here, but if you get into the paranormal, even if it's a hobby, it becomes a passion.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not really something that you can figure out how to do casually because it's also such a very intimate and personal thing, right? And so, and the same in the same respect, since it is so personal and so intimate, and you are you are vulnerable when you're exploring the paranormal. You're vulnerable when you're discussing these concepts. It can also, I've found, lead to self doubt, lead to self doubt in pursuing the paranormal, lead to self doubt in making content, and and I think having these conversations, I know for me personally, and I've had some beautiful conversations in the last couple months. I mean, that is like it's that good medicine. It's that connection. It's that vital connection, with those like-minded souls that either, you've had conversations with in the past, you as an example, but whether it's your intention or not, your cup's going to be much more full after having that conversation. You're going to be a little more excited, and you're going to be just taking away these ideas that were generated during the talk, and you keep going, and you try to think of interesting ways to explore and to share and to tell these stories. And that's why I love what you're doing, is because I really feel your authenticity comes through with everything that you do. And it's so real. And I mean, that's why I gravitated to your posts in the first place. And I think that, like you said, there's many people out there doing paranormal for various reasons, and all, even for good or for better or for worse, kind of still, being in somewhat of the same mindset. But there are not enough people that are out there that are making it feel like this accessible, okay to be interested in, okay to, have 5 different tarot card decks on your desk next to your computer. That it's okay, because this is great, and it might be paranormal, but it's not crazy. And you do that really remarkably well. And I know you put a lot of work into it, but it does look effortless. It does look effortless, these posts you do.
I really appreciate that. Thank you. That, as you said, fills my cup. I'm glad to hear that that's what I'm putting out into the world, because that is the whole reason why I put anything online, is to connect with people in that way and to make it feel like, just to simply put, to make it feel okay. Like,
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
want everyone to feel okay, to
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
accepted and
Yes.
accepted and happy. And like, I mean, life is so tough. And if I'm going to choose this avenue to put all of my energy and resources to, I want to make sure that I'm prioritizing human connection, living or non-living. But
Yeah.
especially living, as we all struggle with the same things. I just really want us to. I genuinely, like, very much am prioritizing the people in this field lately. Like, yeah, I don't know. Life is tough, like life is just very tough, and
It
we
is.
deserve to have like true acceptance. Like yeah. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah. Thank you. I think we deserve acceptance, and we deserve to like feel moments of exhilaration in the world around us, and that can be hard to do, when life is hard and when we're struggling, and adding not being accepted onto that list just makes those moments where you can be truly present harder to attain. And so you're showing people that just ways that we can explore what being present means. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I don't know how to take a compliment. I'm like, anyway.
I get that. Yeah, I get that. You can just cool down, drink some cold water.
Ooh, I'm gonna fan it out.
Yeah, fan it off. You got the vapors. Well, we're getting toward the end here, and I have to ask this question every time that I have you wonderful people on. So it's going to be the question that that's coming, and I'm going to just lay it out here. Amanda, Pretty F'n Spooky, one of my favorites. Do you turn around?
Yes, I do. I've been thinking about this question since we set this up, and I'm like, what is a more unique answer? Because I'm annoying, and I have to be unique, and that's a problem. I'm working on it, but I was like, what else can I say? I always say yes. I think the last time I talked to you, I was like, I turn around and I'm looking back at myself, and and I'm not feeling that. I'm not feeling that deep today. I'm hot as shit. But yes, of course I turn around. I turn around every time. I turn around and then I run towards it. And then I shake his hand and I say, come with me. And then we go into...
Do you like jewelry? Come with me.
I have all of my jewelry. And I'm like, well, which one is yours? And they're like, you're really annoying. Please stop.
I love it. I love it. Let my listeners know the best place to find you and what you're up to and how to interact with you, and even possibly send you jewelry.
Yes. I can be found at Pretty F'n Spooky on all social media platforms, also prettyfnspooky.com. I do have a P.O. Box, P.O. Box 1055. I don't know. It's on my...
I'll put it in the show notes too.
Yeah. Just go to my social media. I already forgot it. I got it wrong one time. Anyway, I put it wrong on a website one time. But if you want to send me jewelry, don't send me anything weird. But also, I have a lot of projects, as I kind of hinted to.
Yes.
I have a lot of projects coming out this year. You're going to be seeing a lot from me. So make sure to follow me somewhere if you're interested in those things, and some projects to come still. So I have a lot going on.
I love it.
And you can find out all about it on prettyfnspooky.com or at Pretty F'n Spooky.
Oh, wonderful. So excited. I can't wait to see what's coming down the line from you. And we'll definitely get back on the air together as these things are happening, and we'll shout it far and wide. And I'm just very happy to know you, Amanda. So thank you for joining me tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm happy to know you too.
And you, the Don't Turn Around community, without you guys, none of this would be possible. Thank you for your support. Thank you for those that have joined the Patreon community. Just thanks for being out there. And with that said, I'll catch you next time.
We just don't know what really causes this phenomenon. So it's been going on for a very long time, but every time it happens, the scientists come up with a new quasi-scientific explanation for it. We just don't know what really causes this phenomenon. And that's what the witnesses are always describing.